Okay, hello everyone, good afternoon. I think we can start the webinar. I'm very happy to see all of you attendees there online. You should be automatically muted and your camera is off. So very welcome to the you're very welcome to the Greenet webinar for a new cluster 5 NCPs. As you know, we will do 2 newcomer webinars, and the second one will take place on the 11th of May. Without further delay, I would like to introduce the agenda. So briefly, we have Maria, my colleague from Poland. I'm really happy and pleased to have Maria here. She's very experienced as an NCP, and we used to work together already in the previous energy NCP network in Horizon 2020. Maria, you can say a few words on your background in more depth. Your presentation covers more the background and history of the program and the basic rules and policy, among other things, I think. Then from my side, I will continue and I will have a few reminder of the key concepts and the values of the program and steps to a proposal from an NCP perspective. And then some useful documents and tips from my side. And here are some practicalities. So as said, you are automatically muted and your camera is off. And for any questions, you can use the chat function. And if you have any technical issues, use the chat as well. And the slides and the recording will be shared in our Cluster 5 website repository later on. And then finally, reminder on the next training. So we have the next webinar, which is continuation to this one on the 11th of May. And then we are planning on a proposal writing masterclass for the 21st of June in Paris. The invitation registration is not open yet, but it should come out very soon. And you can consider these newcomer webinars as something to build for the proposal writing masterclass. And then before we start with Maria's presentation, I think, and Maria, you can confirm, but you can decide whether you want to take questions right away or leave them to the end of your presentation.
I think that while I'm presenting, I don't see the chat, so it will be difficult, I think.
Yeah, so
take them. I think it will be better to keep the questions for the time after the presentation.
Okay, yes, let's do like that. And I'm happy to help. I can read the questions for you in the end, so we make it more interactive in that sense.
Yes. Okay,
but I let you share your slides.
Okay, thank you. So hello, one more to everybody, and I'm trying now to share my presentation. I hope you can see it now. Can you confirm, Sanna? Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm NCP from Poland, and as Sanna said, I have already some experience in framework program. I'm an NCP for almost 8 years now, and I will tell you a bit about history of the program, something about the legislation process, and show some basic rules and policy issues. As of course, we know that we have Horizon Europe, which is the ambitious European Union research and innovation program. But of course, it is not something which came from nothing, which came from the void. So we used to have previous programs. And it started already in 80s. As I'm sure that many of you were not yet born in this time when the first framework program started, as it was adopted by the Council in 1983, and it was for the period from 1984 till 1987. And it was the first framework program. Then we used to have second, third, fourth, and so on. And after the 7th framework program, somebody decided that this is not at all a fancy name. And then we came out with Horizon 2020 and then with Horizon Europe, which is actually the 9th framework program. And there will be the 10th in the future with the name which is not known yet. So if somebody will be interested in more details about the evolution of the programs and some key data and comparison between the programs, you will have the link to the interesting article showing this process of evolution here in the slide below. And every program was larger than the previous one, which is quite obvious as everything is getting more and more expensive. And there are also more and more countries involved in the whole European Union concept. And so why do we actually need the program? It is so that in Europe we have only 6% of the population of the people all over the world, but having so small amount of people, we have 25% of high quality scientific publications. So pretty huge amount. And we have really good knowledge and we have skills, but still in the case of leadership, in innovation and entrepreneurship, it could be better. The European Union is investing in R&D, is investing around 1.5% of gross domestic product in general. And there are other countries which are investing more, like Japan, Korea, United States, and even China is starting to invest more. And so we decided in Europe that we need to cooperate. We need to do the things together, as it is easier to achieve goals, such impressive goals as innovations when we are cooperating together. So that is why the program was created. And in order to create the program, the European Union institutions are necessary. So the most important institutions for us are those who make decisions. So European Commission, the Council of EU, and the European Parliament. And all these three bodies are involved in creating the Horizon Europe program. So we have the Council of European Union, one of the two legislative bodies, and the Council is created of ministries from different countries, one per member state. We have European Parliament, which is also legislative body, and I didn't know about it, but it's the second largest democratic electorate in the world after the Parliament of India, which I find pretty interesting. And we have now more than 700 members of European Parliament. And then we have also the European Commission, which is executive body. So it's a kind of government in European Union with the 27 commissioners. And it has also more than 30,000 civil servants. So the European Commission is divided into departments, so-called Directorates General, or DGs, which is an abbreviation which you can hear pretty often while being NCP. And these DGs are responsible for different topics. And there is a commissioner at as a head of every DG, and also a director general who is representing who is the head of this directorate. And there are many directorates dealing with different issues like agriculture, budget, climate, defense, environment, energy. And the one which is most important for us is DG R2D, so DG for Research and Innovation. This is the DG with which we have the most contacts. And On this slide, you can see the organigram of the DG Research and Innovation. It's pretty small, but if you are interested in the details, you can download this under the link which you can see below. And this is something which is changing pretty quickly, but it is important to know what kind of units we have in this DG and who is responsible for each unit and who is responsible for each topic in the unit, as it is possible to find contacts with those people and sometimes ask them more detailed questions or ask them to present some information on our national info days or other national events. So now the commissioner in the field of research and innovation is Maria Gabriel, and Director General of the DG is Marc Lemaitre. And the DG is responsible for is carrying out the policies on research and innovation. So how the program was created. And you can see here that already in 2018, the Commission started to propose some legislation. And then from 2018 till 2021, it was the time for opinions, for negotiations, and a lot of work has been done. But you see that it is a pretty long process. And so even now, when we are not yet in the half of Horizon Europe program, we already started to think about the next framework program, as it takes so much time. So all the work started in 2018, and then in May 2021, there were jointly the decision made by Council and by Parliament to start the program. And if somebody is more interested in this legislation, so there's a regulation of the European Parliament and the Council from April 2021, which established Horizon Europe. And it's more about objectives and general directions and strategies, priorities, and this general things. And then there was Council decision from May 2021, which is more about detailed budget, activities of individual parts of the program, and operational objectives, so more specific things. And all these documents allowed us to work on more details regarding the program. As of course, we have the whole program for the period from 2021 till 2027. But it doesn't mean that at the very beginning, we have already all the calls. It will be pretty impossible to decide on what type of calls we will need in next 5 or 6 or 7 years. That is why the program is divided into smaller parts. We have so-called strategic plans. The first strategic plan was for 2021-2024. And now we are working on the second one for 2025-2027. And there are the information about specific directions in which the calls should go. And there are even more specific documents called work programs in which you will find the calls. And the work programs are mainly for 2 years, so 2021-2022. But of course, if you divide the whole program, which is for 7 years, then it is impossible to divide it into 2 years parts. So there will for sure be a program for 3 years or for 2 + 1 year. We'll see. It depends from political issue. As for example, when in next year there will be election for European Parliament and there will be a change in European Commission, then the new commissioners would for sure would want to have influence on Horizon Europe and on the next calls. So the calendar of work programs and the strategic plan is prepared in this way that the new commission could have this influence. How member states and how the countries can influence the Horizon Europe program. So at the beginning, of course, there's Council and Parliament, which is elected by member states, and they decide on creating Horizon Europe program, but also on later stages, the member states have a possibility to influence the program. So it is the European Commission who creates strategic plan and work programs, but we have program committees, and program committees help the Commission to work on Horizon Europe and to create all the documents. And there are the representatives of member states in those program committees. In some countries, there are NCPs in these program committees, but this is not something what is rule. It depends from the country, and the country decides who they want to nominate to program committee. And this is how the program is created. And then we have Horizon Europe. And what do we have inside? So in general, the vision, of course, is to have a sustainable, fair and prosperous future for people and planet based on European values. So in more details, Horizon Europe, the most important things which is focusing on is tackling climate change, as 35% of budgetary target is on tackling climate change. It's also about helping to achieve sustainable development goals, boosting the union's competitiveness and growth. It should facilitate collaboration. It should support the creation of excellent knowledge and also create jobs and engage talents in EU. So sometimes this goal can be very different and very difficult to achieve in the same time, but we are trying to, and that is why the program is so ambitious. And in order to achieve all those goals, the Horizon was created with quite a complicated structure with 3 pillars and dealing with innovation and research actually in every area you could imagine. And the money is not distributed equally between all the parts in Horizon Europe. And you can see that the 3 parts where the most money goes to are European Research Council grants and clusters digital, industry and space, and our cluster, so cluster climate, energy and mobility. So this means that these are areas which are particularly important for European Union and need a lot of research and innovation and need money to achieve goals, ambitious goals in those areas. We're also trying to learn from previous programs. So there are evaluations of previous programs, and we are trying to take the good things from old programs and change this, what is working not so perfect. And so there were some lessons learned from Horizon 2020. And this means that, for example, European Innovation Council was created as a answer to need for supporting breakthrough innovation, or missions were created as an answer to the problem of having more impact and of involving citizens more strongly. And the novelties which are most important for our cluster are mainly new approach to European partnerships. As we have almost 50 partnerships now in Horizon Europe, and they are responsible for almost 25% of the whole budget of Horizon Europe. And the approach we have now is much more simple than we used to have before in Horizon 2020. There are only 3 types of partnerships, so co-programmed, co-funded, and institutionalized. And the number of partnerships is also limited. So if you think that, and here on the picture you can see that still the landscape is pretty complicated and the number of partnerships is pretty large. And if you think that it is complicated, then try to think how complicated it was before. Then as now we say it is simplified and the number is much lower. So it's the step probably in the right direction to make the things easier. Also for us NCPs, it is nice to have less different rules and to have more things which work in the same way. And also we have missions, which is something pretty new, and that is why we are not so sure yet how it will work and how it will be implemented. And the missions will be evaluated, and the results of the evaluation, the results of first evaluation we will see already this summer. And we'll see how the future of the mission will go, whether there will be some new missions or if we'll stick with those 5 missions we have now. So this is something pretty new. The Commission has pretty high expectations regarding missions, and we will see if the expectations will be fulfilled, if we'll reach the goals which were assumed at the very beginning. If some of your clients will ask you, is Horizon Europe for me? Then probably the answer will be yes, as Horizon Europe is open for everybody. So it is for member states, for associated countries, and also for third countries, where about the third countries, the budget issue is not always so obvious. I mean, some of the third countries might take part in Horizon Europe projects, but they need to engage their own budget. But for some of the third countries, the budget is also available from Horizon Europe. And the program is also open for all types of organization with legal personality, so universities, research institutes, companies, small, medium, large companies, NGOs, public administration, which is not so obvious with many other programs or either international or national programs. But Horizon is very open for different type of institutions. And usually the projects from Horizon Europe, you need to implement the project in an international cooperation. So your clients need to have a consortium of at least 3 partners from 3 different member states and or associated countries. And what is very important is that the projects must have a European dimension. So this European added value. So it's not enough to have something which is innovative in one of the countries. It must be something which is innovative in Europe. So it gives the whole Europe this added value. And while during the evaluation, the excellence, impact, and implementation is being evaluated. So it's not enough to have excellent project, something which is really excellent in from the scientific point of view, but it also has to be something which has impact. And the word impact is being more and more important in Horizon Europe, as the Commission wants to have projects which are changing something. So they need to have real impact on the challenges the projects are dealing with. And this is something very important. So the word impact you can see really in many places. And from where we take the information on in which directions should the research go. It is, for example, from a strategic plan. You have here the link to the document, to strategic plan, to the first strategic plan, and to the information about the second strategic plan from 2025 to 2027. And in this current strategic plan, we know that we should promote an open strategic autonomy. We should try to restore Europe's ecosystem and biodiversity. And we are on the way to make Europe the first digitally enabled, circular, climate neutral, and sustainable economy, and create more resilient, inclusive, and democratic European society. And the calls which are created in different clusters, they are all trying to deal with this key orientations and do something in order to enable the achieving these goals. And in our cluster, climate, energy, and mobility, we are of course trying to fight with climate change. And we are having different areas of intervention connected more with climate science or with energy, either supply or the use of energy, and also with transport, mobility, and different modes of transport. And all these areas of interventions are having calls which should allow us to have those impacts also shown in strategic plan. So as I said, the word impact is very important, and this is something your clients should involve in their proposal, so to show that they will try to have those impacts. So either create climate neutral and resilient society, or clean and sustainable transition of energy, or more efficient energy supply. So we have all the list of expected impacts, and actually the project cannot be created in the void, and cannot be created because somebody thinks that his or her idea is just brilliant. No, the projects need to achieve those impacts. And this is very important to see the connection between projects and all the documents, between projects and call topics, work programs, and this wider documents like strategic plans. That's why it is important for us and as NCPs to know not only the call text, but also those more general documents. And you can find the information about a lot of more general documents regarding climate, energy, and mobility on the web pages, which I will show the link here. So for climate, it's mainly about the European Green Deal and limiting the warming to not more than 1.5 grad Celsius. And of course, it will be possible to make the whole webinar about policy issues regarding climate. So I just wanted to show you the place where you can find more information. And if you will have some time, then you might read what kind of documents are important for this climate part, or for energy part, where we need to remember about Repower EU, about a set plan, which is Strategic Energy and Technology Plan, and about the Clean Energy for Europeans package, and of course many other documents. And for mobility, for example, Strategic Transport Research and Innovation Agenda, which covers the priorities for electrification, alternative fuels, vehicle design. So actually there are many interesting documents, and it is important to remember about them while helping your clients, as it is easier for them to create their projects when they understand the whole picture, and when they see that this is not just something which is coming from nothing, but that their projects should be also a part of bigger research ecosystem, and should create a kind of portfolio of different solutions helping us to achieve the goals from the topic text, the goals from work program, from strategic program, and from this all key orientations. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer, or at least to try to answer.
Thanks a lot, Maria. That was perfect. Thanks for keeping the time as well. I don't see any questions so far. Can you stay until the end of the webinar in case we get some questions later on? So
yes,
we can
of course.
discuss together. Okay, good. Thanks. I will then share my slides. This one. Can you see them?
Yes.
Maria, yes. Is it in the presentation mode?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Okay, so thanks, Maria, a lot. I think we learned a lot with your presentation, and you very much gave us the very good basis, the history, the legislation, how it works, the policies. And now in my slides, I don't have so many slides. I think I have around 10 slides. I tried to build on what Maria was presenting, but going perhaps a little bit into the practical aspect of NCP work. And I was really trying to think of what, if I would start over now as a new NCP, what I would think would be helpful for me as very basic things to keep in mind and to revisit. And before I start, just a little bit on my background. So I have been an NCP since 2017, minus 1 year because I was on maternity and parental leave for almost 1 year, actually not too long ago. So I missed the very beginning of Horizon Europe, actually. And I work for Luxembourg. I work at the Lux Innovation, so National Innovation Agency for Luxembourg. And besides being the national contact point for Cluster 5, I'm also national contact point for Cluster 2. And in Luxembourg, we also are the program delegates for the clusters, same clusters. And then I'm also task leader for the trainings task in the Greenet project. And that's why we are here today and why I'm organizing, speaking to you now. So first, I wanted to go into the basic concepts. Maria pretty much covered this already in a different way. But for me, I think as an NCP, it's important to keep in mind the basic concepts of the program and even revisit them from time to time. I noticed when I came back from my almost 1 year leave that I had kind of somehow forgotten the basic essence of the program. And I think it really helps you in your NCP job to remind yourself and revisit what the program is about. And actually the NCP job is really really mostly about trying to convey to your clients and make them understand what Horizon Europe is and what kind of values it has. So firstly, it's collaborative. So here we talk about Cluster 5 and the Pillar 2, which is collaborative projects, as you know. And Maria already said what are the basic rules there, so I won't go into it. But keeping in mind the collaborativeness is a key. And here I often say to clients that think about, especially for companies, that think about collaborativeness in a complementary manner and not going into collaboration with your competitors. And collaboration is not in Horizon Europe while it's cross-border, it's between countries. And that's the whole beauty of it. Horizon Europe wants to go beyond what national funding can do. The whole idea of it is to bring the best minds in Europe together to work on common solutions. And that's why countries who are not in European Union want to be in Horizon Europe because they cannot afford to be outside of this research and innovation collaboration. And together we can achieve more and really bring the solutions. But collaborativeness means also cross-disciplinary collaboration. That's very important as well. And what I find also very, very interesting that it's collaboration between different types of organizations. You bring together industry with research organizations. In Cluster 5, we see a lot of demonstration calls, for instance, where you bring together then also municipalities, cities, bringing their demonstration cases. You can bring in NGOs, like Maria was also saying, that is really open to everyone. And this collaboration is really the basic essence of the program. Then secondly, and this is something to keep in mind and convey to clients in a diplomatic manner sometimes, that it's competitive and it's based on excellence. And the best ranked, best evaluated projects will be funded. There's no politics into it. You cannot lobby. It's not cohesion policy. It's not balancing differences between regions or countries. It's really based on competitiveness and excellence. This doesn't always mean that all organizations wanting to go into Horizon Europe have to be the best, the excellent in their field. Think about cities. For cities, for instance, the beauty of going into a Horizon Europe project can be exactly that they can tap into this expertise through Horizon Europe project and get a great researcher working on their piloting area, building area or something. And like Maria said, it's more and more impact driven. So she explained already the strategic planning. Commission is more and more looking for impact. We need to monitor impact for the whole program, which then means that also the projects themselves, they need to be monitored in terms of what impact they bring. And this, at the end of the day, means what value to the money of, so EU taxpayers' money, what value do we bring to citizens and to solving the problems that citizens are concerned about. Then one very important concept is that it's, at least for Pillar 2, so the collaborative, like Cluster 5 project, that is top-down. So topics are predefined. You have topic text, which give you the description what is expected from the projects. It's not that's versus bottom-up, which means that you have an open call on any kind of topic you want to bring in. Often I understand that's the case for the European Research Council, for instance, or the EIC. But here we always work on top-down, so you need to find the opportunities for your clients. Then what Maria already explained in her presentation, and you could see that this is Horizon Europe is a continuation of previous programs. And what the Commission was saying with Horizon Europe versus Horizon 2020, that is an evolution and not a revolution. So good to keep in mind always that it builds on past work and experience in kind of two ways. What Maria said, that Commission has tried to improve the program throughout the years, throughout the programming periods, throughout the different programs, making it easier and while keeping the very good quality. But also that on the project or proposal level, you have to keep in mind that each project stands on the shoulders of the previous projects. And understanding that helps you to help your clients, I think, quite a lot. Also, in terms of finding partners. I will come back to that. And then, of course, the last but not least, that it aims to achieve the EU policy targets, which is very much linked to the impact discussed before. And not only that the projects will aim to achieve the EU policy targets, but what is nice to remind the clients is that projects then feed back into policy and will kind of, it's like a circle where the projects will feed back into, and the next policy standards or priorities will take use of the results of the projects actually, and that's a very interesting point as well. Then on this, I don't want to spend too much time because Maria already established this very well. But because for Cluster 5, really the climate agenda, Cluster 5 is at the heart of the climate agenda of European Commission, and it's just such an important paradigm shift that we have moved from having the jobs and growth agenda in the previous Commission as the main agenda to climate agenda, and we talk about the twin transitions, so the green and the digital. And Cluster 5 is crucial in this. So it has been recognized that research and innovation is really defining the speed or how fast do we get to our targets for climate neutrality as defined in the EU Green Deal, or what is the aim of the EU Green Deal. And just I think for Cluster 5 NCP, this is very important to keep in mind. And knowing the policy, as Maria was explaining, EU Green Deal, Fit for 55, following that, it's sometimes challenging because I think we all have a lot of work, but it's good to keep in mind. Then briefly, I wanted to have a look at the steps to a Horizon Europe proposal, kind of submission from the NCP perspective. This is actually a slide that we use at Lux Innovation, more or less. I modified it a little bit. I think it's rather universal what NCPs do. And it really starts from onboarding clients, applicants, depends on the resources and the time available, whether it's more proactive or reactive. But really, I think we all do more or less info days, specific thematic events, training to create awareness on the Horizon Europe opportunities for applicants. We also try as much as possible to think about who could be in Luxembourg, the potential applicants who might not be aware of their opportunities. And we even sometimes approach them with a tailor-made suggestion that this is a topic that would fit you perfectly. Have you ever thought about it? Then moving on from there, when you have a client, normally they have an idea or their activities, their innovation priorities, for instance, and you move on from there to identify really their opportunities. And here it's important that as an NCP, you know the program, the topic, the funding instruments, and you help them to understand the topic expectations, and you help them to understand what is their suitable role in the proposal and the project. And what we do, or what we encourage the clients as well to do themselves, is to do a background check of previous projects, for instance, and key players. And then moving on to a very important step, which is the partnering. Here, often we either, more often it's so that we have a, let's say, maybe a less experienced organization or maybe a company who is looking into joining a consortium, and or then we have a consortium or coordinator who is looking for missing partners. And there, what we try to do is to identify suitable key players, and I will explain a bit how with which websites you can, or databases you can do that. You can do as an applicant or as an NCP, you can be a bit more proactive as doing partner search, either approaching other NCPs, or then often we suggest to our clients that it's better if we identify key players together with them, and then they check their own contact lists, because it's more, normally people are replying easier to emails that come from people that they already know. And working with organizations or people that you already know is, of course, kind of safer, and you already know how they would possibly work in a project. And then, of course, we have brokerage events. Greenet project is also organizing brokerage events. Here, what we advise to clients is really for them as well to prepare well for the brokerage events, to know a bit who is doing what and to who to talk to. Then, of course, the proposal review, proposal preparation support. Here, our main, what we do is the proposal review. We ask applicants to send their proposals 2 weeks before, but normally we get them later. We, of course, provide LNF support, so legal and financial support, for instance, how to draft the budget. Here, it's normally not me. We have a nominated legal and financial NCP, who is my team leader. Then going into the submission, which normally doesn't require so much from us, but sometimes we are needed to help the applicants on issues on the funding and tenders portal. And then we do get questions after, for instance, the project has been selected for funding, namely for legal and financial support, and especially for newcomers. So this is briefly from the NCP perspective, and thinking of what we do at Lux Innovation as the national contact point for Horizon Europe. And I will move on to, so also related to this, I was trying to think the most useful documents. I'm sure there is a lot, and I'm happy to hear from you as well if you have brilliant, good advice and useful documents and websites that you think could be relevant for others to know as well. But one of the advice that I would give myself, and I want to give to you as new NCPs, is really, if you just possibly can, to take time to study, to read things. And I think what is important is more than, you don't need to memorize things, know things by heart, but to know your way around and where to find what. And this is, of course, according to your role, whether you need to do also some legal and financial or not. And the first thing is, of course, the funding and tender portal, where you have a lot already. Here I'm limited to the reference documents. You can see, so on the, how to participate, and in the drop-down selection, you can find the reference documents where you have legislation, work program, grant agreements, simplified cost decisions, and so on. I would say here, at least for me as a Cluster 5 NCP, the most important is, of course, the work program. I have both Cluster 2 and Cluster 5 work program in my bookmarks, so I can easily, quickly access them. And I would say that knowing the work program well, not by heart, I would say, but knowing where to find things, how it's structured, the introduction, the destinations, the calls, understanding the logic of the topic IDs, which in my opinion in Horizon Europe became more complex and can confuse applicants. So understanding that logic and finding things and keep reminding the applicants also that it's not just the topic text. You need to look at the destination and even the introduction and the kind of the big picture behind. And then what I use a lot is also the proposal template. When I do proposal reviews, this is one of my main documents that I'm using quite a lot. But yes, to prepare for future, take some time and familiarize yourself what is there, which document has which information, and so that you can find answers easily when you have an applicant asking. Then there is a lot of support available. We have the Greenet project, which is the Cluster 5 NCP project, network project. And we are building a repository as well. We have only kicked off the project last summer, so it's work in progress. But you have the Bridge to Horizon, which is open to all NCPs. You need to sign up on it and you get validated, and after that you have access. And there are a lot of, for instance, webinars and training materials, fact sheets, different kind of publications, and they are divided into the different pillars and clusters. So really also sign up there, have a look what is inside, and if you just possibly can, take the time to study and read, and maybe make notes for yourself where to find what kind of information for you in the future. Then in terms of finding partners and consortium, I think what I use a lot is again to keep in mind that Horizon Europe builds on what is done before. A call topic has a history and a background in many ways, but remember that a lot of projects have been funded already. And in terms of, you need to know that for a proposal anyway, but when you're looking for experienced partners, spend some time in the Cordis. You can find all the funded projects in there. Learn how to use it. It's the primary source of results of EU-funded projects since 1990. And spending time there, then you can find, if you're interested to look into a project, you can find their websites and go on the website and have a better look. You can also have normally their work packages. So you learn a lot by looking at these old projects, and you start to see also recurring names, who are the key actors who are going into these projects. Then there is the Horizon dashboard, which is relatively new, which is more the statistical side of things. So it looks at the implementation figures, country profiles. You can check your own country, what's your success in different thematics. And sometimes how I use the dashboard is to check an organization. Let's say I have a client and they say, I'm working with this organization. Can you check whether they have a track record in Horizon Europe? And I can do that in Horizon dashboard. And then here is just an example to do things a bit other way around. So you can check in the funding and tenders portal. You can check with keywords. You can find the previously all the topics related to a certain keyword. You can check the closed topics, and if they are old enough, you find for each topic you find the funded project. That's kind of maybe sometimes an easier way to understand what is the background, what is the history of the topic, what has been funded before. And then probably I don't, since I'm a bit running out of time, I think if we have some questions. So Maria referred to this already. So what I like about Cluster 5 is that, especially for energy and mobility, you do have a lot of structure behind the work program and the topics. They are kind of well organized in terms of also the stakeholder perspective. So like Maria said, there's the set plan, and related to that, there are European energy technology platforms, which are stakeholder platforms that feed into and provide expertise and represent the stakeholders in a certain field. Here I have an example of the European Technology and Innovation Platform on wind energy. And this is, I think, useful for you to keep in mind, also to understand who are feeding into the work programs in terms of, Maria explained how it works from the EU side, member states and so on, but from the stakeholder perspective. And before I run out of time, this is, I think, my last slide, but what I find very useful and especially since for mobility part of the work program, there's quite a number of co-program partnerships. So co-program partnerships topics are in the Cluster 5 work program, but behind the partnerships, you always have an association that represents the public and private stakeholders. You can, if it makes sense, you can even suggest to your clients to join as a member to these associations, who together they have different working groups and they develop a strategic research and innovation agenda, which feeds into ultimately to the work program and the topics. And even for partnering perspective, if a client is interested in the CCAM topics, it's very easy to direct them to the CCAM and the association behind, looking at the members list, and you would immediately have an understanding who are the likely candidates to go into the proposals as well. And here you can see, I think these are all the co-program partnerships of the Cluster 5. So you have CCAM, 2.0, Waterborne, Batteries for EU, and the Build for People partnerships. This is very briefly from my side. I hope it was not too much rushing through the slides. I think we have some time for questions. If you have any, don't be shy. Use the chat function if you have any questions. I don't see any questions. Maria, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't think so, just that you might always write and ask other NCPs or contact other NCPs, even if I'm not in your country, there might be a situation that there's a group of relatively new NCPs in some area, then you can always ask other NCPs in other countries. We will be ready and happy to help you.
Yes, indeed. And Greenet will be having other trainings. I think we have also a forum for NCPs. And yeah, indeed, don't hesitate to contact. Also, I didn't have so many hyperlinks or links to the website, so I will add them to the slides. Maria had done a good job in that. But if there's no questions, I would like to thank you all for your participation. Hope it was useful. And see you next time. I see some, maybe not questions, maybe more comments coming, but thanks a lot and have a nice day. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.